Hey everybody, welcome back to the Knowledge Broker podcast. I'm Joshua Campbell, and joining me as always is
Trish Riswick. I've noticed in the last 2 episodes you refuse to say my last name.
Trish Riswick.
What a lovely sound.
Yes. How are you, Trish?
I'm good. How are you doing, Josh?
I'm good.
Yeah.
I have a bit of a nasal thing, so sorry to everybody if you're listening in, but I'll manage.
This is going to be Josh for the rest of the podcast
It could
today?
quite possibly be. We're a bit sassy these days. We had an argument yesterday that Trish thought that Oasis was a bigger band
No,
than the Beatles.
that is not at all what I said. I just said Oasis has also contributed a lot to music. Not as much as the Beatles, but a lot.
All right.
And then we also got into an argument that the Beach Boys or the Beatles came first.
Oh, surprising.
Mm,
Does everybody know this answer? The Beach Boys have actually been around longer than the Beatles.
By only like a year, but still technically. Still technically.
Who would have known?
They had an album out first. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so we've been in a really sassy mood these last 2 days.
Yeah.
But to put us back in a good place, I thought this week we could talk about one of Knowledge Broker's core values and one of Josh's favorite things to talk about, I swear, considering we've already brought it up a couple times on the podcast. So everyone at home, this is a 2-parter, and we're talking about a new level of transparency. Yeah. So this is going to be a 2-part episode. You'll be able to watch the second part next week on Tuesday when it comes out. But today we're going to be breaking down the first element of transparency in the workplace, which is transparency inside your work environment.
Cool.
So next week we're going to be talking about transparency for your clients. But today it's all about transparency within the workplace.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm very excited about this because I think that Knowledge Broker does a really good job about being very transparent to its coworkers, and even to people that if we outsource information or anything, we're really good about at least relaying the message. So I kind of want to pass on some of the wisdom and some of the goodness that I've learned myself being here onto everyone at home.
Sounds great.
So let's start off by, I just want to ask you, why is it so important to be transparent with your coworkers or your employees or your employer?
I have nothing to hide. I'm a true believer that you can't lie, and there's no point in lying. I feel that being super open about everything to the point that it's transparency is just an easier way to live. You can, if you tell people exactly the way that you feel, if you show everything that's on within the business, if you show the inner workings of things, people can understand them further, which is the way I like to process.
Yeah.
So I like to work with people that are very transparent as well. So not only do I practice it, I also expect it from others, and I think that others also expect it from me. So it becomes very much an energetic workplace where people feel that they can speak their mind and just be open about it, and there's no point in holding back because you don't go home saying, oh, I should have said that or I should have done that.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist.
And I also think that the value of transparency, especially in the workplace, does stem to the information that you are giving your employees, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you want them to succeed. And so by being honest and open with them, you allow them to succeed more because you're able to create an environment where you can disagree on things, like our Beatles and Beach Boys debate yesterday.
Just an example.
Just an example. Or you can create an atmosphere where, people's ideas are important. They're valued. Like, you're sharing in not only the success, but the failures. Like, transparency in the workplace it's huge. Like, it's vital, I think, to create a great atmosphere.
Yeah, it's if people walked into our office place, which many people have, it's obviously an enjoyable, comfortable place because people can be themselves. In addition to that, I find that when we expose the inner workings of the entire business model in the office place, it allows other people to contribute their ideas as well. So not only is it comfortable, it's actually very creative, which we've talked about in the past as well. It allows a creative atmosphere to exist.
Exactly. There you go. So talking a bit more micro, how maybe give 3 examples that you can think of that Knowledge Broker is transparent to its coworkers, its employees, or even, like I said, people we're outsourcing
Yeah.
information to.
One of the ones that I'm super transparent about, even though I've been told it's maybe not a great idea, but I still continue forward with it, is I show the inner workings of all the costs and the revenues of the company. I show them on a board so that people can see what the revenues are and see what the costs are. I think that there's really no reason in hiding this information. I think it gives people true belief, and when they go to make a decision that does cost the business money, they can actually see that it reflects in perhaps revenue or it shows the cost.
Yeah.
So people really respect the fact that they can see what's going on the money side of the business. And this is one of the things that I'm a proponent of, because what's the point of hiding it?
Yeah.
It's not like anybody's going to steal your ideas. Anybody's going to take that information and show it to others. What's the point of it? But within an office place, by all means. I also find my second thing that I do for to be super transparent is anything that we learn. I make sure that we have whiteboards downstairs that are in our office place that show everything that we all learn. And now, mind you, we should probably change them up, but very much anything that any of us learns on a day-to-day basis, we make sure that we post for everybody to see. So no matter what, my information that I have in my head or your head, everybody has access to it. Which allows a lot of us to very much learn from each other. A third one, let me come back to it.
Okay, that is fine. So for me, how I think that we are transparent in the workplace is not only do you have the whiteboards and stuff like that, but even stuff that you do outside of Knowledge Broker, like when you do your professional coaching or when you participate in the community events, you allow us to be a part of that world too.
Right.
So you pass on that wisdom to us, which makes us feel like we're a part of something bigger than just the office, I guess you could say.
That would be a really good third one. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Yeah. The coaching that I work with, it's very much like I might be the one that attends, but there's no reason why I can't share.
Yeah.
And it's almost like the more you share, the better. It's like a rising of the tides, which
Yeah.
I believe is transparency in itself. If we do better, other people do better. Even when it comes to, I know we're not talking about our client transparency side, but I look at it as an industry. If people see in real estate what we're doing in real estate, even doing podcasting, tell me this isn't transparency.
Yeah, exactly.
It's full transparency.
Yeah.
We're not sitting here editing this. It's absolutely open information.
Yeah.
We're also sharing things that we do within our company, and I think that rises the tides for everybody. And then ultimately people will ask us, like, what are you guys doing next? Because they know that we know a lot, and we just want to share and pump it out there and give value.
Absolutely. And so again, thinking just within the workplace, again, you're providing value to your employees, to your coworkers, everyone who's a part of your team. And I think by just doing that, you kind of, you said raise the tides. I agree, because it's like you're now not only having, for an employee, from an employee perspective, you're not only having a share in the company by, this is what I contribute to the company. You're also having a share in the company by, I'm a part of this landscape. Like, I am a part of the team. I am a part of this community that you've created. And I think that does speak volume, because any job you've had in the past, sometimes there's not that community. There's not that sense of, I know everything. I am allowed to know everything, and I want to know everything. I can even think for myself, I've definitely had those instances where my managers or my bosses weren't being 100% transparent.
Right.
And it really does affect you as an employee, because you feel like there's something that's not...
You're misled?
Yeah. It's like you feel like there's something like a secret or something that you're not allowed to know yet.
Sure.
I had one boss who actually said, she said that famous line, like, you're on a need to know basis.
Yeah.
And I think, if anyone says that to you, and it's not because they're planning your surprise birthday party, that is such a mean thing to say to somebody.
I think there's part and parcel. It is insecurity of the person to say it, but it also creates insecurity.
Exactly. And when I think of that boss, like, I felt like I was walking on eggshells every single day, because she actually had the audacity to say, you're on a need to know basis. And I was like, okay, but do I know exactly what I need to know? Like, do I have all the information that I need? Or are you hiding something? And it creates a barrier, and that barrier can really pollute the environment.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt.
So that's why I think it's so important that we focus first on in the workplace today, because I truly believe that the transparency that exists within the workplace actually steams out into what your clients see and how your clients feel.
Every day, even what you do on a personal.
Yeah.
I find going into a workplace that's transparent, you can't go into a workplace that's transparent, then all of a sudden go home and shut back down. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I think that it also attracts, like we attract people that are more transparent because we want them, but we are who we are.
Yeah.
And the difference is when people that are not transparent come around us, they are often insecure by how much information we give. They either adapt quickly and become, or they get out of there.
That's very true. Because then that goes back to, hiring and who you hire and how they mesh well within your little ecosystem you've created. Because if you haven't, hired correctly, then, and if they don't exist in a world where transparency is so important, then they'll completely conflict with your world that you've created.
Yeah. There's someone I met with or talked to the other day about getting on with a board or a committee or a charity, whatever the case may be. And they asked me about fit and whatnot. And I said, fit is the reality that you are who you are. Make sure that people know you and your personal and your professional skills. But fit, you can't change.
Yeah.
You either fit or you don't. You can't all of a sudden go in there and fake it, because faking it's going to end one day. So if you go in there, if you naturally fit, it's easy. You can't force these things to happen.
Absolutely not. Okay, so great. I'm glad we talked about this. And I want to now kind of dive in a little bit deeper to how can you implement more transparency within your business?
How, for others or us?
Well, I mean, we already do a pretty damn good job, but if there's more ways but for others, like what are maybe a couple things off the top of your head that you can think of that other people would actually really benefit from?
Right. I believe, like when we think about like open source and you think about, when I think of open source, I think of code and software, and you think of all the other companies out there that have gone open source. Like Apple went a lot of heavy open source, Microsoft went heavy open source. They've all almost gone towards this heavy open source mentality because they know that if they have open source, they can actually get better at what they do.
Yeah.
They're giving it to other people to improve and make better for free, and then ultimately they get the benefit, and so does the user. So it's the rising of the tide. So my world is to make sure that everybody within our office place or our clients or the public, they know what we do on the inside. And people think, oh, you got to protect this proprietary information. Well, you can within reason. People can't take away your brain. Your brain is the ideas where the generation comes from.
Yeah.
But if you give the information out, you're giving it out there so that people can have it. And ultimately, they're going to give you feedback. So it's this feedback mechanism. And if there's any way to be more transparent, I personally would rather see tons more feedback. You and I do it a lot. There's a lot of cross-pollination within our office where we each see each other's work. We improve it. We put our 10 cents in. We edit constantly. So it's a rising of the tides. It's very much the group think. And the feedback loop is by far the most important.
Okay, so yeah, that's a pretty easy tip to also implement into your environment, is just ask for more feedback. And actually, you know what? I'm going to take this opportunity to talk about something else that's very important.
All right.
Employee reviews.
Yeah.
Employee reviews are an amazing tool because they allow you to sit down with your coworker or your manager or your boss or whatever you want to call it and really dissect, your performance. But the reason why I want to talk about them is because there's a bad way to do them and a right way to do them.
Right.
The bad way includes that wall that I was talking about, that you need to know, or you're on a need to know basis. Because when you do a bad performance review, in a way you are shedding some of your transparency, because if it's bad, then it often means that the person has been holding this all inside and is keeping it from you until the right time.
Right.
And at the right time, then your boss is going to be like, yep, I hate when you do this, 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 and this, and this.
Right.
That's not transparency.
Okay.
That is you are holding on to something that you don't want to give to your employees so that they can become better.
Okay.
Something that we do here, and this is why I'm mentioning this, because I think this is also a really great tool, is if you are open and honest with your employees throughout your entire day, night, working, not working, blah, 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 that creates such a transparency and an honesty and a trustworthy environment that when it comes time to do something like a review or getting your feedback,
right,
the person's not scared. The person's not like, oh my gosh, what is he going to say? Is he going to just yell at me for that one time I was late? It's like, no, because you know
You
about,
already would have said it.
exactly, you've already said it.
Or the person already would have admitted it. I mean, you create that environment of safety, the safety of free thought, the
Yeah.
safety of free will. A lot of employers, I feel, do a lot of fear tactic.
Yeah.
They hold things over people's heads, whether it's their job, a task, taking something away from them. I don't find that that's the way that people perform really well.
Yeah.
I know my past jobs that I've had in my life, yeah, you feel like you're going to lose something. There's nothing worse than that.
Yeah.
Even us within real estate. Like I sit there, if we list a house for sale, if I go to have a client to buy a house, if the fear, if they put fear in me of, Josh, you're going to lose this job if you don't perform well, I don't perform nearly as well.
Oh gosh, no.
No one does.
No.
It's why NBA and baseball players, everybody has these contracts so that they know that they can go back and focus on what's best, not be worried about the contract. So it's the same idea as a job. If people realize that if they are all constantly working in a state of fear, they're never going to be creative and nor do very well at their job.
Yeah.
So back to what you said. I have an idea.
Okay.
I want to have a review on me, which is another great idea for everybody out there. If you have a manager, there should be an opportunity for people to give the manager feedback as well.
Yeah.
In a two-way street, almost to the point that the way that we do our employee reviews are based on we give our worksheet beforehand so that we allow ourselves to do self-reflection.
Yep.
And then we both come prepared to the meeting. And then there should be an extra spot in there where the employee would be able to give feedback to the employer. I think it would be a key
Agreed.
opportunity for transformation and to be super transparent.
Yeah. Because I think that transparency and trust are very, very much an equal equilibrium kind of thing. Like they're very equal to one another, and without trust you don't have transparency, and without transparency you don't have trust.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's exactly that. Like if feedback is something that I think that is also an awesome thing to instantly implement some more transparency into your work environment. I completely agree. Having that opportunity to be able to speak openly to your employer and say, hey, like, this is great, you're doing awesome at this, or I would prefer if you could give, because on ours for my review, you asked me how you could help me achieve more, or how could you help me succeed more goals or something like that. And I was like, I remember I saw that and I was like, wow, that's like really cool, because a lot of times like business owners, managers, coworkers, or whatever, they never ask like, how can I help you?
Yeah.
And it seems like such a simple thing to ask is just, how can I help you be better?
Yeah.
And it's crazy how something so simple can be so impactful in your work environment.
Yeah. I mean, in a perfect world, we would have constant, instant feedback. It's almost impossible. You think about preparing for employee feedback and having employee reviews.
Yeah.
You can only do them so often. I know some people have made comment like, Josh, why don't we do that every month? That felt great. Well, agreed. But you think about the actual time, how much is actually changing. You also got to get back to doing your work.
Yeah.
So it's almost like we can sit there and talk about reflection all day long. Clearly, we could. But we also have to get back to doing work so that we can focus on what is important in order to find out what we are missing.
Yeah.
When I asked you those questions in regards to how can I help you, that helps me too. And it also allows us both to have that open communication.
Yeah.
So that you can speak up and say, Josh, these are some of the tools that I need right now and I don't have.
Yeah.
So, continuing on.
Sorry. Yeah, so then the next thing is I kind of wrote down a couple more ideas that I had, and I want to bounce them off you and see what we can do from them. Okay, so the next one that I have is clearly define each member's position in the entire company. And something that it has occurred to me recently is that a lot of times people get tied down with titles. You know, are you the accountant, blah blah blah, are you this, are you that, are you the regional sales director of blah blah blah? And I find that a title is just a string of words that may or may mean nothing.
Sure.
Like you could be a cashier but call yourself like the sales or the direct sales representative and money transfer or something like that. It's like a title means nothing, but the position and what the position actually requires is significant. So I think a really great way to allow transparency is to allow everybody you work with, whether it's 5 people or 50 people, to know exactly what everybody in the company does. And I'm not just saying like by their title or by like a brief sentence. Actually list everything that person does, because if you ever have a problem, you can look through this directory almost and be like, oh, okay, I can go ask like Lorraine. Like Lorraine will be able to help me with this problem. Or like
It's a good idea.
Chuck would be able to help me with this problem because he's doing this.
I wonder if that could be done via like software. It'd be really cool to kind of like, you know, when you go into a software program, you go to the right-hand corner, you hit help or FAQ.
You get the
and
little,
then in
the
there you
little
type in
paperclip.
something. If you type something in there, all of a sudden if it came up and said the best person to talk to is this.
That would be very handy.
It'd be really cool.
Especially in like larger companies. That'd
Sure,
be
it would
really
be.
cool.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe larger companies are already doing it, but
Perhaps, yeah.
I just thought it was because also that when you do that, you're kind of removing the hierarchy of things, which I also think gets really weighed down in business, especially like, oh, you report to this person, oh, that person reports to you. That
Right.
It's like, especially if you are working within a small company, say you only have 10 people.
Yep.
It's kind of stupid to think like every single person is going to have someone else to report to.
Yeah.
It also creates this hierarchy, which can also be very toxic, especially in smaller work environments. So by allowing that knowledge to, you know, decide where to go, who to talk to, it kind of makes it so that you don't have to talk to your superiors, so that they can tell you who to talk to, so that they can tell you who to talk to.
Yep.
Keeps things kind of flowing a little bit more.
Some like I guess some of the stuff that you're saying right now, I feel like it's very much coming back to just removing the boundaries and the walls.
Yeah.
And creating an invisible environment. Like I think of us when we have office places, you think of I think glass walls.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of glass walls. I think that when you're in an office, it does create the sense of sound barrier for obviously concentration purposes. But I mean, everybody's working in the same office. And I'm a big fan of synergies within a small office place because you can kind of hear what other people are doing. And although you're not necessarily doing that work, you get it by osmosis, which I find is one of the biggest learnings. No different than going into, I've done case competitions in the past, and there'll be people working in different parts of the room. We all hear each other.
Yeah.
It makes all of us better. I mean, if you're in a competition, it's different because you want to compete against others, but you're not because you're always competing against yourself.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, I mean, if we all do better, it's the end result is better.
Everyone's happy, right?
Sure.
Yeah. And then my second one would, like, I think we kind of talked about it too, is being honest with the successes and the failures. So like you say, you put a lot of our goals, our costs and prices and stuff like that up on boards. But also, for example, say if you're in more of like a retail business and one product is just not selling.
Okay.
It's good to share that with your company so that they can know, okay, guys, we need to improve on, you know, this skincare line. It's not working for us. Because what that does is it helps you. It once again brings the entire team together and say, guys, we have a problem.
Right.
This skincare line is not working. How do we fix it?
Yeah.
It also does is
or how do we replace it?
Yeah, how do we replace it? Exactly. It's like you get the brainstorm team back together.
Yep.
But what it also does is if you have a success and you're like, guys, this skincare line flying off the shelves, it's like a huge party almost. Like you get to bring that in and share it with everybody, and it's like the camaraderie is there, and that just puts you back together again.
Yeah. The successes and the failures. Successes are, I mean, hey, when we have successes, we have to make sure that we celebrate them. It is easy to just continually go on these successful roles without celebration, but if celebration doesn't exist, people don't get not even self-recognition or within an office place. On the failure side, I feel that failures can be celebrated as well.
Oh, yeah.
Because realistically, if you can come to the terms that something didn't work, you obviously learn from it. I think you learn way more from your failures than you do from your successes. I think there's a lot of lucky successes and failures. I mean, you could consider yourself lucky if you fail because you learned. But I feel that a lot of people, they get success. Success kind of motivates itself.
Yeah.
Failures are definitely the learning points because those are the things you don't go back to.
Yeah, it's very true. You're always trying to improve them because you want to turn your failures into success.
Sure.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, another thing that I think is really important too is knowing where to draw the line. So transparency does not mean you need to know what all of your coworkers are making, what they're talking about in their like HR meetings. It doesn't mean that you need to know exactly what Susie did on Friday night at 11 p.m. So I find the healthiest environments are the ones where you are given the information you need to succeed in the workplace, but that doesn't mean you need to know everything. And by everything, again, I mean things that should be private or things that should be kept between, say, a boss and a coworker or something, because that also causes a little friction.
Sure, it does. It's human nature. I mean, like my level of transparency is pretty high that I don't really care as much.
Yeah.
I think that I've been practicing long enough that if I knew someone else's information, even if what they made, it doesn't affect the way that I contribute. I think that I still go to work and I contribute to the degree that I want to.
Yeah.
I know what my position is. They know what theirs is. The company has their position. So I feel that regards to like personal information, sure, keep that back. People don't need to know that. There is a place and time for that. If we come into the office place with whatever our baggage is from our day, obviously that affects us at work. It affects everybody else at work.
Yeah.
If someone isn't doing well, I mean, having a transparent atmosphere, it does allow people to actually come in and talk about that stuff as well. I would never say leave that stuff at home completely, because it is who you are.
Yeah.
If someone's having a rough day and they say, like, for instance, we work from home quite a bit and in our own spaces. And if someone just says, I'm having one of those days where I can't work around others, I get it.
Yeah.
Go take it upon yourself and you can work in your own space.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Exactly. And then the last one I kind of thought of was smart technology. I mean, again, super easy to implement that into your business. Using something like, we use Dropbox, but you can also use something like Google Drive. Just having your entire company have access to the same files. Having access
calendars.
I was just about to say, having a shared calendar so you can see like, oh, okay, Josh and Trish are podcasting at this time. You know, Josh is going to be in a meeting at this time. Being able to organize your life that way is, it's not only important, but I think it does increase the transparency, because you're not saying like, again, I had a boss who went like, my boss, she was leaving and she's like, I'm leaving. And I was like, oh, like, where are you going? She's like, I don't need to tell you that. And I was like, okay, you could have just said I'm going shopping or something.
Who
like
cares?
I could not care less. It's just like, if you told me I'm going grocery shopping, I'd be like,
sounds like you didn't like this person
this
very
person
much. Yes.
No.
On the calendar side, like I share personal. So do you. It's kind of like if someone was gonna say, hey, we're gonna slide something in there, why not show your personal calendar?
Yeah.
Who cares what you're going to do? It is your life. I mean, if someone has something uber private that they don't want to do, maybe they're planning a birthday for their wife, who cares? You don't have to put everything in it, but at the same time, in order for your team to really respect your space, they know you're human. You still have to do things for yourself. So why are we holding this back?
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you got a doctor's appointment, put in you got a doctor's appointment.
Yes.
You don't have to go into details about it.
No,
just
no one's
say,
going to ask you.
No one's going to ask you. Just say, I have a doctor's appointment from
Which
11
means
to 12. Good.
You can't move it.
Exactly.
People aren't going to book it things right up against it because they know you got to drive somewhere and get to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So use the technology that you have available to you, because it will, it not only makes you feel so much better knowing,
Yeah.
but it just makes you feel better as a human being.
Yeah. That's why we're big fans of Apple.
Yeah.
Everything we have is Apple because of their synchronization ability, so that we see everything. Everybody sees everything. Almost to the point that people can access emails, look at each other's emails if they need to, because it just makes life easier. You have that ability to say, hey, can you guys pick that up for me? Because I can't do it right this second. It makes life easy.
Yeah. So then we're wrapping up here, but just on a closing thought, what do you think the true benefit of, like, the number one benefit of transparency in the workplace is?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Probably reiterate what I said before, which is making you the best you can possibly be.
Okay.
I think that allows everybody within the organization to all rise. And I think that it creates an opportunity for trust and safety, and which is where everybody flourishes.
So I was thinking about it today, and I think my biggest benefit is people's, as individuals, are becoming more problem solvers and are keeping themselves accountable. I feel like when you work in a very transparent environment, you feel confident to make decisions based on what you think is best in that moment, and not have to go to, again, your superior who has to talk to their superior who has to talk to their superior.
Sure.
It's like, okay, I spelled something wrong on Instagram.
Yeah.
I can fix this. I don't need to go tell Mark, to tell Susie, to tell Margaret, whatever, that there's a problem. I feel confident to be like, I'm going to fix that typo.
Yeah. If I need a tool and you say you need like a grammar software, or if you need a video software, or if you need a new calendar software, you get it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know it's the best decision for the company. You make the decisions, you move forward. So efficiency, productivity, ownership. Yeah, all of the above.
Yeah. Okay, so on that note, I think that is where we are going to wrap up part 1 of a new level of transparency.
Part one.
Part 1. So thank you everyone for watching this first. The second part of this podcast will come out next Tuesday. So if you wonder why we're in the exact same clothes, it's because it's a 2-parter.
It is. We're getting a double whammy here. So thank you very much for joining us. And if you have any comments or questions, as always, leave them below.
Yeah. So anyway, until next week. Bye.
See you guys.
Thank you very much for stopping by our channel. If you have any questions or if you're looking to buy or sell, go to our website and contact us today. Knowledge is power and creates experts in understanding. If you want power, hit thumbs up on this video and subscribe to our channel so you can get weekly videos from me, your knowledge broker.